But in terms of technical, look, $2,000 appears to be the new support for gold. Used to be the high. It held up very well in the face of rising interest rates. Everyone thought it would be horrible for it. It should be higher. I think it ultimately will be higher. The reason the West haven't been accumulating gold is because gold is the antithesis of the system. This is being done in a very methodical fashion. And if the West were to signal we lose, we give up, kind of like the end of the London gold pool, well, yeah, you'd see the price go parabolic very quickly.
Throughout the remarkable year of 2023, central banks made notable strides in acquiring gold, culminating in a significant surge in their acquisitions. By the conclusion of the third quarter, the cumulative purchases had soared to an unprecedented 800 metric tons, surpassing the already substantial acquisitions of 2022 and setting an unparalleled standard in the global gold market. This substantial and growing interest in gold among central banks signifies a deliberate and strategic shift toward this precious metal. The repatriation of gold by various central banks, coupled with the reclassification of gold as a Tier 1 asset by the Bank for International Settlements, BIS, has sparked discussions about its potential implications for the global financial system. Andy Schectman, CEO of Miles Franklin, strongly foresees the imminent reclassification of gold by the BIS. He stresses the absence of justifiable reasons for any delay in this reclassification, highlighting gold's unique status as the only other Tier 1 reserve asset globally. This is accentuated by the unprecedented accumulation of gold and silver by central banks in recent years, surpassing historical benchmarks in central banking history. Moreover, the extension of Western sanctions across the financial system, often termed dollar weaponization, incentivized numerous large emerging market economies to shift their foreign holdings into gold. This move, seen as less susceptible to confiscation based on storage locations, led countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa to collectively acquire almost 5,000 tons of gold for their official reserves in the past 15 years. China and Russia notably added more than 1,500 tons each, while India increased its reserves by around 450. The significant acquisitions of gold by central banks worldwide prompt speculation about the West's potential adoption of a similar system. Andy predicts an ongoing transition toward a gold-backed currency and suggests that any hint of a shift from the West could swiftly trigger a substantial surge in gold prices. We will present clips from Andy Schectman's interview with Soar Financially, but before we do, if you want more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more updates. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
No, I think it's ultimately 100% going to happen. I mean, look, there's no reason for the BIS to reclassify gold, the only other Tier 1 reserve asset in the world. And when you look at the amount of gold that's been accumulated, and silver, by the central banks, you know, you're talking over the last 2 years, more gold accumulated by the central banks, and mostly those central banks, than at any time ever in central banking history. I just think that in order to issue a currency that has legitimacy, you have to, like in crypto speak, you have to have mass adoption. They weren't ready to do it. And you know, Jim Rickards is a very smart man, and he's more tied in than I'll ever be. I think, you know, what he said will ultimately be, he said two things that made a lot of sense to me. One, they'll issue a gold-backed currency. I couldn't agree more. I think there will be a marriage of gold and blockchain technology, where you will have a blockchain that shows what every country has pledged to the new system. It'll be it won't be a reserve currency at first, maybe, but it will be a settlement currency, and it will be pegged to commodities. We've been told that by the Russian finance minister for years. I believe it to be true. The BIS reclassified gold. All the banks are repatriating their gold and massively accumulating it. And you look at the amount of gold that China and Russia and India and Saudi Arabia, all of these countries have been accumulating. It's off the charts. And they're not even telling us how much they're really accumulating. But you have to do it in a manner that has mass adoption. You can't do something like this unless all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. If you look at what happened at the end of the meeting, Kai, they said, the meeting in Johannesburg, let's all go back to the drawing board, come back and present your findings next year on a common settlement currency. In the meantime, let's all trade in local currencies. And that's exactly what you see happening. The deals are being struck in, you know, China has some 30 currency swaps with other countries, 30 countries worth of currency swaps, where They agree to use each other's currencies in lieu of the US dollar for settlement. And each one of these currency swaps or all of these settlements that are being done outside the dollar is another swing at the tree. Chop, 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 or little by little by little by little. And ultimately, it will affect the reserve status of the US dollar. And that's really the issue here, is that, yes, all of the dollar bulls are correct. It still is the most liquid market on the planet, and it still is the world reserve currency. But you can see that little by little changes are being made. Now, yes, if they were to issue a gold-backed currency, which I believe ultimately they will, and tie it to cryptocurrency, to a blockchain, I think that's ultimately where we are going. Even Kristalina Georgieva, the head of the IMF, said any central bank digital currency that is not pegged to something is just another fiat currency. I think they know they have to tie it to something. And what better to do than the only other tier one reserve asset? And do you think there's any coincidence that the central bankers of the world have bought more than at any time in history? Of course not. But they're doing it the right way. Now, my only question is, does the West beat them to it? Because I think the West realizes this has to happen too, where the IMF not only made that statement, but when I saw you back in Vancouver, like right around, this was about a year ago, they came out with a report titled Gold International Reserve Currency, comma, a barbarous relic no more. So even the IMF and the Western central banks understand that, you know, we've probably squeezed as much credibility out of the fiat system as we ever will. The next system, like Zoltan Pozsar says, one based on commodities and transparency, will have to be pegged to something. So ultimately, we will see a gold-backed currency. There's just too much coincidence.
The decline in inventories, especially regarding silver on the COMEX, has been rapid and significant in recent months. Nearly 20 million ounces of silver have seemingly vanished from the registered category. However, there hasn't been an audit to provide a precise and transparent breakdown of the actual allocations of precious metals critical for the functioning of futures markets. Andy strongly criticizes the rehypothecated system within Western exchanges, notably highlighting the startling 1,500% rehypothecation evident in the silver market on COMEX. This staggering ratio suggests that there are 1,500 times more paper contracts than physical bars available in vaults. This scenario could lead to multiple contract holders claiming cash settlements for the same physical bars, exposing a significant disparity between paper contracts and tangible metal reserves. He raises concerns about the current dynamics where paper markets wield a disproportionate influence over commodity prices, contrary to the fundamental principle that physical commodities should dictate market rates. While the manipulative nature of Western exchanges is recognized by many, Andy suggests that the rest of the world strategically navigates this situation by quietly amassing precious metals without sparking widespread awareness or causing extreme price fluctuations. Let's get back to the interview.
You know, you got silver priced $2 an ounce higher in Shanghai than you do it off the London Metals Exchange or the COMEX. You have gold throughout 2023 was as high as $150 an ounce higher, anywhere from 80 to 150 higher, slowly arbitraging all the metal over. They do things methodically, slowly. And that's really, I think, the trademark here. We're playing checkers, they're playing chess. And if the West were to make that statement, I think things would accelerate very, very, very quickly because, you know, I think it signals that this is a losing game. You can only suppress or manipulate a market for an extended period of time by pushing it in the direction it's going. And we are losing this battle as people are gobbling up all that they can. And that's why the price hasn't taken off to the degree that I think a lot of people would think. You got the West trying to hold it down to maintain supremacy. And you got the rest of the world not bitching that it's being manipulated because they're accumulating it slowly enough to not push it through the roof. But when you see the emergence of the Shanghai Gold Exchange and the Metals Exchange in Dubai and the Moscow Exchange, there will come a time when the West and their ridiculous rehypothecated system, where right now the silver market on COMEX, the registered category, is 1,500% rehypothecated, meaning there are 1,500 times the paper contracts, 1,500% times the paper contracts as there are bars in the vault. In other words, 14 people get cash settled, one person gets the bars in theory. Well, it would be force majeure long before that. But the point of it is that they're able to issue 15 times as many contracts in silver as there are bars behind it. That's what the Hunt brothers noticed. And it is an illusion where the paper markets control the commodity price. It should be the other way around. It's the tail wagging the dog, where the speculators can push the price of oil to negative $40 a barrel. How the hell do you do that? By the leverage you get in these contracts, and the rest of the world sees the Western exchanges for what they are, a scam. But if you're going to pickpocket the world, then you use the leverage of the Western suppression against us. And that's what they're doing. Slowly. Don't wake everybody up and let the price skyrocket in a world where information travels like that. No, keep volatility in it. And make it counterintuitive. Like, why hasn't gold taken off the way that most people think it should? And I think it should be a whole hell of a lot higher, even in the face of headwinds of real interest rates that have gone up, 500 basis points in the last year. It doesn't matter. It's that this is being done in a very methodical fashion. And if the West were to signal we lose, we give up, kind of like the end of the London gold pool, well, yeah, you'd see the price go parabolic very quickly.
Central banks' increasing preference for gold, driven by geopolitical uncertainties and inflation, signifies a shift from traditional assets such as US Treasury bonds. Considering this shift, individuals might find value in converting their currency reserves to gold and silver, especially as central banks anticipate a new global currency system. What implications could the recent trends in central banks' gold acquisitions have on the global financial landscape? Share your observations in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.